What is the breaking point of the human heart? Not in poetry, not in romance, but in the frozen hell of absolute zero, where starvation is the air you breathe and betrayal is the only warmth you can find. We believe our love is a fortress, that loyalty is a law of the soul, but these are beliefs forged in comfort. Today, we journey to a place where all comfort died, the Soviet Gulag, not for a history lesson, but for a brutal psychological autopsy. There, under the crushing weight of the state, a terrifying pattern was revealed. A secret about the nature of love, loyalty, and survival, etched in frost and paid for in blood. This is the forbidden knowledge survivors carried back from the abyss. And once you understand it, the silent games of power and affection in your own life will never look the same. In the vast, frozen expanse of the archipelago, a man was not just a prisoner. He was a variable in a horrific experiment. Torn from his life, his identity erased, he became a number, a ghost haunting the Siberian snow. His only tether to the world of the living was often the memory of a woman, a wife, a lover. Her image was a secret son he carried inside, a promise that he still existed in someone's heart. Imagine a man we will call Dimitri, an engineer from Moscow, arrested on a fabricated charge. In the first year, he survives not on the watery soup or the stale bread, but on the hope of a letter from his wife, Elena. He writes to her, pouring his soul onto scraps of paper, convinced of their unbreakable bond. Months bleed into a year. The silence from home is a different kind of cold, one that seeps into the bone. Then a thin envelope arrives. His hands, raw and trembling, tear it open. It is not a love letter. It is a court notice, a divorce initiated by her. Attached, a short, pragmatic note. This is too hard, I have to move on with my life. In that moment, the guards, the hunger, the backbreaking labor, they all become secondary. He has been killed by a few lines of ink. His true sentence was not delivered by a judge, but by the person who promised to wait forever. This was not a rare tragedy. It was a pattern, documented with chilling consistency by Aleksandr Solzhenitsyn. He observed that for the vast majority, loyalty had a price, and the Gulag made that price impossibly high. The first law revealed in this crucible is a brutal one. Love is often a contract, not a covenant. It is an unconscious transaction based on perceived value. A man's value in the social marketplace is his strength, his status, his ability to provide security. The state, with a single decree, annihilated that value. The husband was no longer a provider. He was a liability, a genetic dead end. To remain loyal was to chain oneself to a sinking ship. This is not a condemnation of women. It is an observation of human nature's survival instinct, a force more ancient and powerful than any vow. As Schopenhauer might say, the individual is secondary to the will of the species. Her choice, though it felt like a personal betrayal, was an impersonal act of evolutionary self-preservation. She wasn't just abandoning him, she was obeying a deeper biological law. To see this is to begin the painful process of liberation. You start to understand that when affection is withdrawn, it is rarely about who you are, but about what you have ceased to represent. But this is not the entire story. Within this landscape of heartbreak, there were anomalies, glitches in the system of human pragmatism. These were the women Solzhenitsyn called the Decembrist wives, the 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000 who refused the contract, who saw the state's valuation of their man and rejected it completely. These women did not just wait, they fought. They abandoned their comfortable lives, moving to desolate towns near the camps. They stood in endless lines in the freezing cold, just to pass a loaf of bread or a lump of sugar through the wire, a sacrament that meant the difference between life and death. Their loyalty was not passive. It was a rebellion, an act of furious, irrational, beautiful defiance. What separated them from the others? It was not a greater love. It was a different kind of perception. They were not loyal to a man's status or his function. They were loyal to his character, to an essence they perceived in him that the Gulag in all its power could not touch. Their hypergamy was for the soul. They possessed a terrifying inner sovereignty, an immunity to social pressure that is a historical rarity. To find such loyalty is to witness a miracle. To expect it is to build your house on the path of an avalanche. This is where the story turns from them to you. The Gulag is gone, but the psychological wires remain. They are softer, more civilized, but they are just as real. The modern world is a quiet gulag of expectations. A man loses his job, he falls into a depression, he gets sick. He simply loses his way, his confidence, his frame. The slow withdrawal of respect, the texts that go unanswered, the looks of quiet condescension, the final soul-crushing speech, "I love you, but I'm not in love with you." This is the modern divorce notice from the camp. The same biological imperative playing out in slow motion, without the dramatic backdrop of snow and barbed wire. The contract has been breached. And here is the dark realization, the truth that will forever change how you see the world. The most dangerous prison is not the one others build for you. It is the one you build for yourself with the need for their approval. The deepest betrayal is not when someone leaves you. It is when their leaving takes a part of you with them. It means you gave them a piece of your soul they never should have had. But for the men who survived this ultimate betrayal in the camps, something incredible happened. The death of external hope became the birth of internal power. This is the forging, the alchemical process of turning the lead of suffering into the gold of an unbreakable self. The survivor looked at the divorce notice, and after the initial agony, he performed a psychological surgery. He cut out the cancerous need for her validation. He transferred his hope. Hope was no longer a woman's letter. It was the ability to endure the next 5 minutes. It was the choice to perform one small act of discipline in a world of chaos, to mend a torn shirt with precision, to recite a line of poetry in his head, to share a crust of bread not out of hope for reward, but as an act of pure will. This is the wisdom of the Stoics, sharpened to a razor's edge in the Siberian cold. You cannot control the world, you cannot control her heart. You can only control your response. Marcus Aurelius in the heart of the blizzard. The survivor found a new purpose. His mission was no longer to return to a life that no longer existed. His mission became to bear witness, to preserve his integrity, to become a living record of the truth. This new purpose was so vast, so profound, it made his personal pain irrelevant. The betrayal was no longer an attack on his soul, it was data for his mission. This is the final secret. Your mission must be your fortress, not a person. A relationship is a beautiful thing to welcome into your fortress, but it cannot be the foundation. Your purpose, building a business, mastering a craft, creating art, raising a child, must be something that no one can take from you. When your mission is your God, a partner's loyalty is a cherished gift, but their betrayal is merely a logistical problem. It cannot destroy you, because you are anchored in something infinitely more stable than the human heart. You emerge from this understanding not cold and unloving, but with a new capacity for a purer love. A love given freely from a place of abundance, not of need. You can finally appreciate affection for the beautiful, conditional, fleeting gift that it is, without being destroyed when it is withdrawn. Your life is not the gulag, but the psychological principles of survival are the same. Build your inner fortress, brick by brick, with daily acts of discipline. Reframe your pain as education. Anchor your hope not in another's validation, but in your own unbreakable purpose. Then you will be truly free, not because no one can hurt you, but because no one can unmake you. Darkness reveals what comfort hides.